The last barriers are going to be perceptions and attitudes, not seeing the need for help, that you don't feel like you have an issue, so you don't need help. You don't see therapy as effective. If you're concerned about confidentiality, it'll be hard for you to really open up and talk about that. Or if you're fearful of hospitalization or the treatment itself, then it's going to be a barrier and you won't be able to receive the treatment that you could probably benefit from. We do have biological therapies. So this would be your antipsychotic drugs, like the medications that we're using. These are like tranquilizers, things that are going to help calm you down when the psychosis is happening, these delusions or hallucinations. That way, those dopamine receptors are blocked, and then hopefully you can function properly. So if you're using these antipsychotics like Haldol, Risperdal, all of these, they can cause problems. So you have to be really careful with them. Risperdal does not cause it, but it does have its own issue like weight gain and that. So you just really have to be careful with traditional antipsychotics and know that the traditional and the atypical they're not a one-size-fits-all. They're not the cure for the issue. Sometimes people have to have them. Other times it's a temporary thing, and hopefully they can overcome them. There are other psychotropic drugs that can be used to regulate the neurotransmitters. One thing that we talked about in class prior is that GABA individuals who have like less GABA, the tranquilizer, they're more likely to be alcoholics simply because they are unable to calm themselves down, so they use alcohol to help. And so though there's other things that you can use medication-wise to do that same thing. And hopefully it doesn't cause the problems that alcoholism would cause. So anti-anxiety drugs, those benzos, something like that can help depress that central nervous system so that the heart rate isn't up, the respiration rate, that feeling of nervousness can decrease. Now, again, we don't want to, hopefully it's not a lifelong thing. Hopefully we can teach you individuals some strategies, some coping techniques, so this wouldn't have to be used all the time. In the case that it does, they can be very harmful. You can have withdrawal too from these because you can become addicted to them. You've got your antidepressants, which are SSRIs. They're going to block that reuptake of serotonin so that it's going to increase the amount that's available. And it's just going to help to those neurotransmitters. This is all back to chapter, I believe, 4 that we're in, that are going to help there. You have lithium, which you can take to decrease depression. But again, you have to be very careful with lithium. You have to do blood tests regularly to make sure it's not toxic or harmful. And it's really helpful there. You do have ECT, which I encourage you to watch this video over a woman who is depressed and she's really having a hard time, and they use ECT. It still is happening today. It actually happens at TMC's Behavioral Health Center. It's more humane than what people think. We're not just shocking someone like the electric chair. They take a sedative. You're under a lot of doctor care. It's an outpatient procedure. They look at all the medications you're taking. They have the ones that are going to be harmful. You're off of them for about a week. You come in, you experience a grand mild seizure with a sedative. And so it's just enough for those toes to curl and that brain activity to have what would be measured as a grand mild seizure. And then it just seems to help some people reset that brain. So a lot of people think that this is something that just happened in the past, but we still actually do this today. The idea came from individuals who were experiencing seizures. They didn't have depression, and so they realized that maybe there's something that has to do with that electrical current passing through that is helping them to not experience these disorders or to overcome them. Now, again, not everybody benefits from them, but this is a last case scenario. You'll try therapy and then medication and then this, but a lot of people do see some results from this. Some people just have to do it one time. Some people have to do it regularly. Some people maybe have to do it for a short span regularly and then may not need it again. Psychosurgery is a thing. In the past, there were lobotomies that were done, and they would just kind of go in and just like cut out a part of your brain, which we've realized is horrible because there's so many things that are connected in with it. And so now we'll do psychosurgery, and we've learned how, like, what parts of the brain are working with what. Like, I encourage you to watch this video of this guy who had an opioid addiction, and it was really awful. He could not overcome it no matter how many times he went to therapy and all the work that he did. And then they put some device in his brain, and it just kind of, I don't know if it just shocked him a little bit, but anyways, he was able to overcome it. They're putting implants in there to help overcome depression. And so it's a whole new world being able to overcome something without maybe necessarily having to medicate. So obviously there are side effects to the drug therapy, so you have to be careful with that. Some can be more harmful than even the disorder, but sometimes the medication is necessary. Obviously you want to try therapy first, and then you want to try medication, but a lot of people medicate first, and then some don't even ever go to therapy. So let's see, when to do psychotherapy, group therapy, biological therapy, really, it just kind of depends. Again, you want to try therapy first, and if that doesn't work, then you want to try to do the biological therapies. So a combination of the two, psychotherapy and antidepressants, really help people more than they do one or the other. But you just really have to realize that there's just issues with anytime you're putting medication in. Some people react better. You have the ability to be addicted to something. So you want to just be careful. And if it's not working, there's no shame in it. There's no harm. Some pregnant moms will be upset because they have to take their mood stabilizers while they're pregnant. Well, it's more harmful to the mom and the baby, and so we'll deal with the repercussions of what the baby's going to go through. But if mom doesn't have that, then there could be harm that could happen to both mom and the baby. And so sometimes you just have to decide what's the better fit for you. So when is therapy needed? Well, you can use it to relieve pain or distress from emotional distress, relationship problems, skills acquisition, sexual problems, recent loss, trauma, clinical disorder, condition. You can even go to therapy for personal growth, that you just have something that you want to overcome and you want to get better at. Awesome. Really, you can go to therapy for anything. So I want to leave you with, all of us have been through tough times. Not one of us can say that everything's been perfect. We've never had any issues or all of that. We've all experienced some type of heartbreak, problem, trauma, difficulty, and they're horrible. And I wish life didn't have them. But the reality is that they do. And so it's important that you use the tools that this class has given you. If you didn't get enough, therapy can always help and teach you a few more. But it's really important. These things are very empowering, and they can help you get through those tough times. Like it says, stronger and wiser. And I hope that you see your value through this class, and that you do realize that you are like a precious china cup, and that you have to ask people or hold people accountable to treat you the way that you should be treated, and that you matter. And if you're going through these things, it doesn't define who you are. If you have a disorder, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Nobody asks for them. No one asks for cancer, for diabetes, for mental health disorder. So you just have to realize it's an obstacle that you have in life, but you are strong enough to overcome it. So I hope that if you have questions, you'll reach out. And if any of these struck a chord, I do think that maybe we should look into how we can overcome it, what's best for you, how you can treat things, and we can just break the stigma of mental health.